I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for the Algonac Community Schools for Monday, January 27th. Please rise for Pledge Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Janice Haskell. Here. Charles Busuttil.
Here.
Ray Pribiloff.
Here.
Heidi Campbell.
Here.
Heather Arneal Roberts.
Here.
Phil Clark.
Here.
Sharon Stiltner. Here. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We have recognitions and presentations.
As you know, each year January brings School Board Recognition Month, and so today we have visitations from each level, and they've come to present to you tonight. So we'll start out with the high school and Mr. Melrose.
All right, well, it's my pleasure to introduce Anna Campbell and Emily Koshan, who are here from our student council to give you a little token of our appreciation. Again, we always appreciate the year-round support we get from the board, and I know a lot of districts get that full support from the board. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good, appreciate that. What'd you guys get?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Cool.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice.
All right, next up, Mrs. Lestage, tell us a little bit about who we have from Algonquin today.
Well, our second graders come to school class. They're actually here for the math presentation. But again, this year, my sixth grade art students created a book nook in honor of the school board. And this year, they chose to do a nonfiction book nook, or I'm sorry, an informational book nook. And they browsed through Scholastic, found some books of high interest for all the different levels, and then this plaque will be hung next to it in dedication for the school board.
Cool. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And last but most certainly not least, Millside Elementary.
We presented you with a certificate there. We also do the book nook. The first graders did it last year, and it's so cute out there, and they love to go out there and read. So the kindergartners are going to do one this year. They're just getting to the point where they're going to start picking out their fun seating and their books of interest. So, and we put right on the book nook the furniture out there that says dedicated, by the school board. So they love going out there and reading. It's a cool place. So ours is not in place yet. Kindergartners are just getting ready to the point where they're going to be able to make some decisions.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Okay, tonight, if you recall back in November, we had the high school math department, middle school and high school math department present to the board just regarding certain curriculum that they're using in the math department, also some of the changes and interventions that they've put in place, and kind of the idea was through discussion from the board that we would do that for every level, and then we'll come back, circle back around and do the same thing with reading and writing. And so today, we are going to turn it over here to Mrs. Hanners and Mrs. Lestage, and they brought some guests to help them present the elementary math curriculum. So, ladies.
Awesome.
All right. So we're going to present elementary math K6 and where we are and where we're going. So if we want to go ahead. So we started out with just our curriculum, looking at what we currently have in place. We use Go Math. It is Common Core aligned, and it's aligned to the Michigan State standards. It has a big central hub online where we can pull a lot of the resources, and as soon as we update our technology, there's even more interaction there that the kids will be able
still. So we monitor that regularly to make sure that what we're being tested on and the resources that we're using are going to be appropriate for our kids. So that if something else isn't going right, we can kind of dig into it and say, okay, is it the content? Where is it at? So we just did the most recent review in 2018, and it scored very well there too. So yeah. So I know this is hard to see. I believe you have.
Yep.
You guys have copies up there. This is our MSF scores. This is kind of where we start, because that is how you know, the community and the public at large see how we're doing. We did take it back to 17, and as you can see in math, so it's third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The green, in third grade, we tend to do really well. We've been third in the county ranking for the last few years. In 2019, they didn't release a county ranking for some reason on the BAA. They always did the IC comparison. They never told us why they weren't doing it, but you didn't find it again. So we've always maintained pretty strong there. Like we had 54 where the county was 44 and 47, 62 when the county was 46 and 46, 62 again, and the state was 47 last year. So our, you know, coming into it, our kids have a good grasp at that lower levels, and it continues through. We start to see a little bit. 17 was a tougher year, and then we started to move our scores up into the green and moving forward going into fourth grade. And then fifth grade, we've had a lull. So that's really where we're trying to figure out what's going on in fifth grade. And you saw it in fifth and sixth grade, and then sixth grade has picked up the last few years as well. So really diving into what do we think why that's happening, and how can we hit those areas, but still maintain strong scores lower down, because when you don't want to switch everything and then lose it where you were doing really well. So Brooke and I sat down, and we've done a lot of talking along with our staff to decide where we put our resources. In the past, we've used the RISA consultants at both schools, kind of divided their time. This year we decided not to do that, to put all of the time into Algonquin to kind of hit some of those areas and do some more K-12 alignment with engagement strategies. So lots of different ideas trying to get out there to take a look at it. This is currently where we are at. So we were higher than the state average in everything this past year, except for fifth grade was a 34 and the state was a 36. No, that's counting last year. This is a 30, right? 30, and this was a 35, I believe. So definitely trying to figure out what's going on in fifth grade right now.
So STEP is only one snapshot of what we could look at, but we monitor almost weekly, monthly, quarterly at the elementary to figure out what's going on, what the kids need, and catch them before we wait until the big test at the end. So every single one of our math chapters has a mid-chapter checkpoint. The teachers are able to give those and hurry up and try and fix little gaps, halfway through the chapters. They look at the chapter test, and in their classrooms, all the teachers use small group after the math test to make sure the kids are grasping so they can move on. So whatever that they might have gotten wrong on the test, we try and pick it up quickly in the classroom. But we also use NWEA assessments, not only to see what they need, but to make sure they're all growing at a decent pace. Even if they're below grade level, we like to be able to celebrate with all the kids the little growth that they're making each time. And it's very, very rare that we would find that kids aren't growing. Actually, they make great gains on the NWEA because we are able to drill down and see exactly what's needed. We're able to look at a whole grade level, and then we can go to a classroom and even further down to each kid. So the teacher's able to look at a classroom snapshot and say, okay, my kids need some more help with their number sense. And they can focus in where the classroom next door might need help in a different type area. So we do that 3 times a year on the NWEA, and I gave everybody a classroom snapshot. I didn't give the student snapshot of what that looks like. And also we use NWEA to gets intervention and what types of intervention that they need. If they fall below on the NWEA a little bit, it notifies the teacher, like, hey, I gotta start working with this child a little bit more in the classroom. Or we can also group them into different groups, and we'll talk about that. They go to a PACE lab that we have created last school year. That's been very successful. And also the teachers keep the students in the room during the PACE lab, and they're able to work with bubble kids and the higher kids. They're able to extend their learning. So the kids who are above grade level are just stagnant, waiting for
Right.
everybody else to catch up. And also we have summer intervention. So we kind of get a cutoff point with the MSTEP and the NWEA and identify some kids that might need a little help in the summer. We talk to the parents and decide if that's a good fit for them also. So this is the part I am kind of excited about. We just implemented this school-wide at Algonquin this year. It's number talk. And we had to watch a lot of videos, and it was a little bit uncomfortable at first for the teachers because this is all student-driven and, their thoughts, and the kids build off each other. And I think really the second grade is so powerful to see how sophisticated their thinking is. So Mrs. Wilson volunteered to bring a group of her students to show us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more on what Mrs. Lestage said regarding the purpose of Number Talk. Is to provide a pivotal vehicle for developing efficient, flexible, and accurate computation strategies that build on key foundational ideas, which is the composition, decomposition of numbers, systems of 10, and the application of properties. And you'll get to see a lot of this in action right now when we do a few problems right here in front of you. But you'll see that students have the opportunity to clarify their own thinking, consider and test their strategies to see if they're mathematically logical, investigate and apply mathematical relationships, build a repertoire of efficient strategies, and make decisions about choosing the most efficient strategies for specific problems. So it sounds very sophisticated, but when you see it in action, it's pretty amazing what they can do. So fun. Go ahead and have a seat right here. So we do this every day. In the classroom, it usually takes anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll do 3 to 4 problems. We'll just do 2 problems for you here today so you can see what it's all about. Ready? Let me know when you're ready. Show me all the different ways you know. Okay. Jordan, what do you think? That's what they mean when we think alike.
Yeah.
I was thinking that same thing. Hey, who's got another way? Everybody was thinking that same thing. You got another one? It's a double check. You can talk louder so they can hear you. Oh, you're being very quiet. Doesn't sound like this.
As I say,
Yeah,
it's
we like to talk loud.
Can you come in every day? It's a doubles fact. So how did you put that together as a doubles fact? Are those really just ones? And what is it? Okay, who's got another
We're not being shy, we just don't have. No, wait, he said yeah, this is like kind of.
Oh, there's more. Here it is decomposed, you broke apart the numbers. Here, Eddie saw the two different doubles in there. Tanner.
I split like the 10 and 5. I counted up by tens.
Okay, so you counted up by tens. Tell me where you got your tens from.
I got the 2 tens from the 15s, and then the 2 tens that made the 5s, and then the equal 30.
So you saw 3 tens right away by putting those 2 5s together. I'm gonna give you a little hint. Usually I don't have to give this hint, but I think they're a little nervous. I see, well, we had tens here because the 5 and 5 make the 10 and the tens are there. But could we split one of the numbers to get to a group of tens? You do that one every day all the time. So how could we do that? Spencer, I know you know how to do this. How can we split one of these 15s to make a 10 with the other number? Get to a group of 10.
You split a 10, I mean a 15 into a 10 and a 5, then we could use the 5 and the 15 to make a 20. Then we have 10 left over to equal 30.
So you want to split one of these?
15
Oh,
into a 10 and a 5.
And then this?
Yeah,
And then 20 and the 10?
equal 30.
Decomposing to get to tens is huge in this, whether we're working with single digits and now we're working, we started out with just single digit add-ins and now we're in 2-digit add-ins and making the 10 to get up to the next group of tens, where before we were just making just a 10. Now we're making a 10 to get up to the next group of tens. Okay, we're gonna put the next problem. Think about it. Ready? You got an idea? What you're thinking? What's the sum?
It's 31 because I have the 10s up into 20s, and I saw a 5 and 6, and it equaled 11 because 5 plus 5 plus 7 plus 1 6, so
And what you did? You got the, you said you got the 10 and the 10. Danny. So 15 plus 15 equals 30. 30 plus 1. What's this one called? That was a plus 1. Okay, so add another one. Jordan? You're right, this equals 31. You said you took this 4 here and put it with that 6. And you made what? You made a 10, and then what?
Then I added the 10 and the other 10 together and it made, and then it made 30. That 10 and the 10 and made 20.
nice, you got one? What you thinking?
I set it up to
You set it up vertically? In your brain, you did that in your brain? And then what you did? The one and the one.
Yeah, he did it the way I'd do it.
That's what I would do.
Good job, friends.
Very good. Nice.
Well, that's basically it in a nutshell. And it goes on, usually there's a couple more problems. Usually, like, it should have had, the one I was supposed to do was 15 and 15, and then 16 plus 16, so they would have worked with two doubles, and then they would have done two of the doubles plus one, doubles minus one, but I just jumped right to that one so you could see how it builds. But you did a great job.
And that's new this year, this talking numbers?
The
number talks,
yes.
yeah.
And we've talked strategies before, but the powerful thing about the number talk, the way we're doing it, and not just talking strategies, is we are actually writing it down. So it's in the classroom, you see
Yeah.
on those other pages we gave you. We have like 7 of those in our classroom right now on hangers that I can pull out whenever I need to. Some are hanging, some aren't. But they can always refer back to them, and they're just constantly up, and then they get to see who's thinking was what. And sometimes it gets a little confusing too, because some friends will try to come up with strategies that like don't necessarily fit the best way, and it kind of makes it more confusing. But then I say, well, if that's how you got to it, that's fine, but you might want to stick to these other ways, like making the tens or using the doubles and things like that. So everything gets written down, and then they kind of can help pick through the strategies that work best for them, and ones they don't know that they try to work on more. So noticing a big improvement in their facts and their
It's a
conjugations.
visual learning too.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's more of a visual learning, like doing it in your head.
Yeah, and they like to get their name up here. Some of them were a little nervous today, I could tell, but usually most of them in the class, like they get frustrated with me if I have to move on to the next problem. They're like, but I didn't get to share my thinking. Okay, well, you share your thinking the next time. So. And it's nice for you as a teacher too, because you can see who you called on already and who got a turn, and try to call on other kids. So all the classrooms are implementing this year, so it gets more complex as the years, the higher the grades.
So would that mean then in the future, as they're progressing in grades, then as they need to get answers, it won't have to be a set way that they have to get an answer? As long as they have the right answer and show their work, it won't matter what format they use?
Right, and this is just to really promote like mental math and, how you can get, there's more than one way to get to the
Yeah,
right
but I
answer.
know that when they do some of the problems in the older grades online, some of them have homework, and if they don't do it the way it shows on the online homework, they mark them wrong. And I just wonder if that's all gonna catch up, so
Right.
that there's
Well, I
not a
do know
problem.
just from teaching Go Math that each day, besides what we're doing with this in Go Math, it teaches different strategies like each day too. So like one day, like today, we just started 3-digit addition. So we were just drawing pictures today. We had 2 addends and we were just drawing the base 10 pieces and putting them together, not even setting up a problem, not seeing an addition sign. And then tomorrow we'll do it in expanded form, where then we'll write out 200 plus 30 plus 4, and then the other one under. So each day they do a different thing, and then you kind of practice it that way. But then throughout the chapter, whichever way you find works best for you, at least that's how it is in 2nd grade. That's how we work in 2nd grade. So I don't
Yeah,
know how all
no,
the
I
grades
mean,
are.
that
But yeah,
sounds great, but as long as they continue it, you know
Right.
what I mean? So
Right.
they don't switch it up by the time they're in 8th grade, and then all of a sudden it's like, they gotta learn a whole new way, you
Right.
know? That's the only thing I was thinking, but that's great that they can use their creativity to come up with the answer.
Yeah, well, there is, we do teach like all of the making the tens and using the foundational facts, which are, your sums of 10, your doubles. Once you learn those, you can use them for all kinds of facts. Like, as long as you have a fact around there that you know, you can use it.
Yeah.
So, and then they're even starting to pick out now, which we didn't even really talk about, like doubles plus two. Well, they'll double number and then say, you know, one took two, one from that one from that one. They'll make the double below it, and then they'll say, and then I added two. That's a doubles plus two. So they're like this language, I usually teach that, but I haven't taught that yet, and it just came out naturally just through the number talk. So it's pretty impressive. So we've always talked strategies before, but it's just a different way to actually keep track of it all, and everybody gets to see it and not just hear it and have it go in one ear and out the other.
And keep them
It's all
engaged,
the time.
right, yeah.
So,
Is this in every grade right now?
yes, yeah. We all got this book, which is pretty extensive. I just read the important part out of it about what the whole, not, it's all important, but, you know, this is where we get all, it gives us all the problems and all the, that we get, you know, the different strategies to try to encourage, even though you don't say much of anything. You've kind of been working on facts already and kind of teaching strategies, and then it all comes out in this when they have to just explain it. So,
Thank you.
Cool.
you're
Yeah,
welcome. And I
thank you
told
for
them
sharing
They
that.
could all leave after this.
Yeah, after you get some cookies.
Yeah, yeah. Make sure they stop over at the
Yeah.
cookie
Yeah.
table there. Yeah. Leave one for Rick.
Creative. That's creative.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, so in addition to number talks that every student's getting every day, we also have a 30-minute intervention block. So each grade level has their own time slot, 1 to 1:30 or 1:30 to 2, and it's scheduled that way so we can have all of our help into one grade level at one time. So if it's like fourth grade intervention time, math intervention, you'll have all 4 classroom teachers, all of our paraprofessionals at that time scheduled into the areas that they're needed. And you have Mrs. Cornway and Mrs. Kemp running some different things. So kids kind of split off and do what they need during that time period. So one of the things they do is back fluency, and Mrs. Sadler is going to talk about that in a couple minutes. Teacher-led small group in the classroom, and some students will go to the PACE lab, and that's where Mrs. Kemp and Mrs. Cornway are. So in the classroom, again, it's kind of our bubble students and the students who are at or above grade level. The teachers are able to take the yellow or the bubble students and make sure that they're getting what they need with the current material. So these are students who struggle in math a little bit, but do not necessarily have any holes that need to be filled. They just need some extra time with the teacher in the general curriculum. In there, they'll do 10 minutes of that fluency and then 20 minutes of the prescribed work that they need. So the PACE lab, I'll just give a quick overview before they start. These are our students that are in the red at that given time. It's a fluid situation, so students can come in and out as needed. It's not something that we keep them in there the whole year. So we're hoping to fill their gaps and get them moved out of there. And they work on Delta Math, MOE Max, and Fact Fluency when they're in the PACE lab.
Okay, so Mrs. Kemp and Mrs. Sadler and several of our other support teachers work in the PACE lab. And we are working with the students who are in the red status, so that means they're below the 20th percentile and need some of the gaps filled in so that we can build on those foundational skills. But one of the big things that we noticed is we really have to build a positive culture in our labs. So we have a parapro who picks up our kids from the different rooms that they're coming from, and they're pumping them up on the way down the hallway to let them know that, you know, we're there to support them. We spend a lot of time talking about the fact that you don't need to know what you need to ask. You have all this support around you, and we have a lot of different ways that we motivate kids. We start where you are, and then we do some building where we just have all the right tools in place to be able to fill in some of those gaps and make math a lot less frustrating. So the growth mindset that was just up here is that the power of yet. You know, I can't subtract yet. And we talk about how learning math can feel really, really hard. It means your brain is growing and things are going good if it's feeling hard. Okay, so two of the ways that we celebrate with kids is in Moby Max. That's the computerized part of our program. There's 3 different pieces. The kids come in and are working at computer stations first, but it's not a plug-in program. We have a lot of support around that. It creates a dashboard for the kids, and we use this to talk about like how they're growing on the different standards that they're working on. Things that they're having trouble with, we can reassign, and we have a parent who actually works in the morning just to keep all of those pieces in place so that when our FaceTime with the kids is just 30 minutes, we want to use every minute from the beginning of the time that they get in right to the very last second. And then this is just kind of a funny way that we do things too, but the kids absolutely love it. When they pass a standard in Delta Math or when they pass a standard on Moby Max, they march on back to this table that has these circles of paper. They write their name on it. They get to walk in front of all the other kids in the lab and stick it on the wall. And like, it has been such a successful thing for them to see that we're all growing. So simple, and it's just working really, really well for them. Okay, so here's the great part. We know it's working. These are our kids that are in 3rd grade right now. The blue bars that you see are when we were not able to do our PACE lab yet. So that year we were putting our resources for title and at-risk on some other different issues in our building. As soon as we started our PACE lab, the kids that were coming in, these orange bars, that's the growth. So any kids growing on our NWEA from the winter to the spring. So we had some really good success. You can see early intervention is super important because we can fill the gaps quicker because there's less gaps. So when we're working in our Delta Math, when Mrs. Kemp and I are working together with kids, that is a program that's working on standards that are from the year before, the 7 standards that are the most important to build upon. So the earlier we can get to our kids, we can identify them and we can work with them, the faster we can get them on track. Okay.
All right. So this is where we're going to come into the math PACE lab. And students will first pick up their folders. Okay, right when they come in, they know to go to the computer stations, and they will sign into Moby Max, and they will get started. We have a flat fluency table. One of these would be flat fluency, and Ms. Sadler will pick kids that she's going to work with, and they rotate in and out, which kids she's working with. Ms. Clarmoy and myself, we work with the Delta Math. We'll pull groups of students that are in like the same grouping of what they need to know, and we work with them, and then we'll send them back. So it's always a rotation that they're getting to work one-on-one with an adult to help them to build their math skills.
Okay, so the Moby program is something where the kids take a placement test, and then it is working on some standards that they need to work on, and it measures, it does like a little lesson, and we have a para that's also walking around and working with them on some of those things. They have a little whiteboard sitting by their computer, and then the very cool thing about this program is, if you can envision the lab with all the kids here, okay, that's their kind of their starting point or their launch pad. There's also a screen in the back, and anytime one of those kids who's signed in goes below 85%, it lights up. And one of our peers can walk over and check in with them, see if they have just dozed off, see if they need some help, see if they have a question they don't know how to ask. And then oftentimes they can even pull some of the manipulatives that we have in the back of the room to go up and start building numbers and working on those standards. So that's one part of our program. And then the Delta Math is a research-based program that It's very scripted lessons. So you start here. If the kids do well on this part, you move on to the next part. You assess again, and then they're ready to move to the next standard. If that doesn't work out the way that you want it to, there's more layers that you can add on to that. You start off building things with physical things in front of you, like base 10 blocks. Then you move to drawings, because nobody wants to carry around a bunch of base 10 blocks to solve problems for the rest of their lives. And then you move into pictures. But that is the program that we use to be able to move the kids through those standards. And then these are the VAR models that we're getting support with our RISA consultanship. So all of the things that kids are working on in the classroom are then re-supported back in the PACE lab. Kids that are working there can also take that back into their classroom. So all those things are just working hand in hand.
How often are the interventions? Is that like once a week or a couple days a week or?
Every day.
Every day.
Every single day, yeah. So they're in there for 30 minutes a day. That's the same time that the kids who are on grade level or who are the yellow kids, so those are kids that can be supported in their classrooms with their teachers in a small group. Green kids, enrichment. The red kids, the gaps are too big for them to really be able to handle some of the concepts they're maybe working on in their classroom, so they're coming down to us.
Katie, are you seeing, you said it's going to, Brooke had mentioned kind of fluid. Are you seeing kids that were a red transition out?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a really exciting time of the year because we do have graduates, kids who are moving out, or
Right.
kids who were yellow and now were red and are moving up to yellow. Not everybody gets to do that
Right.
in a matter of one marking period,
Yeah, right.
or one test cycle.
Right.
But it's really exciting to see some of that growth.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, and John's going to talk a little bit about the fluency station, and that's working with the flexibility of numbers and number sense.
Okay, so as they were explaining that we bring, some of the kids will come back and we'll work with you. And we have some games that we play. The first ones that we were doing was combinations of 10. So it's kind of like a go fish game. And you just, pair up numbers that make 10, and then whoever's got the most wins. And then we move on to doubles, and we'll play, like, we were playing another game, it's called Square Deal, I believe it is. It's kind of like a bingo, where they want to do the doubles facts, and to get, the chips in a row, but they want to do it strategically, so that the other person, like, they try to block, kind of like a tic-tac-toe bingo situation. But I just have to say that the kids really love this stuff. They come in, they're so happy to be there. Actually, it's weird, but they're really excited to play these games and to be on the movie max and to be, doing doubles there. It's nice to see, and it's nice to see the growth that they make.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The important part of what Dawn does in the other paraprofessionals in the classroom, and that is, several years ago when it was back fluency time, they'd be like, okay, here's your test, you have 1 minute, we're doing fours, and they'd have to hurry up and try and get all their fours done. Then if you didn't, they're like, well, we'll try again tomorrow. Where this system is more strategy, assess, and then they do a cycle like that. So there's times of teaching instead of just the drill and kill that I was subjected to when I was in school. So that's changed, and we had one of the days of our PE that we just had all the teachers do a really large workshop, and they just made all the games, laminated everything, got everything together that they needed, so it wasn't cumbersome, and you could have students at all different levels and just pull their bag of what they need to use, and they're not constantly making things.
Brooke, how many years have you guys been using this system now?
This is just this year.
Okay.
Also, so number talks and this back fluency system is just this year. It's our first year with it. But that's every day too for all kids. So that's just not, the students who need help. And it builds on each other, and the higher students can sometimes help the other ones in the class who need that. We also mini lessons, kids worked a lot. Come back to small mini lessons, but it's expanded to more teachers and more ideas. So Laura Chambliss is pretty amazing, and she has a great vision of what needs to be done. And she will come in, she has 9 teachers in my building. The poor lady doesn't even get lunch. She goes from one class to a class, and she is juggling 9 different things and meeting teachers where they're at. So it's not just a one size fits all for everybody. So a lot of my second grade classrooms are working on math workshop, and a couple fourth grade classrooms are working on that. And a lot of them in second grade are also working on cooperative learning that enhances, the number talks that we're doing and just the back and forth talking with them. And another thing we're trying to tackle from kindergarten on up is the bar model that we're using, so it builds on each other every single year. It's the same language. They're going to see it from year to year, be able to fit all their problems into here. But it's pretty complicated, and for teachers to understand, because that's not how we learn how to do this kind of stuff. So she comes in and will model the different problem types and how to fit them in for the teachers. And she comes about twice a month, and then she gives them all a task to work on, and then she comes back and, you have to been working on that, or she knows, and they all do. And it's really made a big difference, and it's exciting for, the teachers and the kids to see that.
Finally, we looked at, as a district, Ryan Brook IL, we talked about math quite a bit, that K-12 continuum and what we need to do and where we're lacking. And one of the things we talked about is vertical alignment. We talked about the fact that even though the content is vertically aligned, something else was missing. So we've really started to talk about the engagement strategies. There's lots of them, but if we start using the same ones from early on, you're not constantly reteaching those engagement strategies to the kids. They come in knowing at least 2 or 3 off the bat, so teachers can get going with that content. Math was always the same setup. You'd come in, you go over the old homework, any questions, you get the lecture, have some time to work. So, especially in the older grades, you have kids that just aren't engaged if they're choosing not to do the work. So we've really spent some time talking about a common language and strategies, as well as what does a math lesson look like? Are you planning your engagement strategies? Are you planning, how much time you need for talk moves or talk, like the culture and the engagement? So all of those different pieces should be within your, really all lessons, not just math, but we're really tackling math right now to say, how can we make this more engaging for kids, so that way they're continuing to work at it to understand it. Math has always been hard since but we used to go, well, some kids get it, some kids don't, and we don't anymore. So we sure, it's amazing though what they can do at such a young age and how they see things that as adults, I would never see breaking apart numbers like that. So they've got the ins and outs of it. So hopefully, like I said, with all these new things we're doing K-12, we're going to see some change. Some mathematicians coming out of that.
Yeah. I can, just compliment work of the administrators and the teachers to get on board with some of this stuff. And Brooke kind of said it, this isn't the way that we learned it. And the thing is, when we talk all the time about curriculum purchases or what we need to be doing sometimes as a school board or as a district, the reality of it is what it all cycles back to is good instruction, good classroom instruction, good strategies. And so like when Brooke talks about Laura Chambliss coming down and modeling some of these things, and you take a look at something like this, that's really where, math is not that different from now 100 years ago. Math, numbers are numbers, but good instruction has changed and progressed along the way. And I give these people a lot of credit for making that paradigm shift and taking a look at saying, we need to change and we need to talk the language that the kids are going to be familiar with. And I think it's really going in the right direction.
What has changed is how they test math. Not the state level, it's all story, problem-based, multi-step.
Any questions for the group at all?
Did you say
that this one is from MSTEP? Yes. For that 5th grade year, do you think it's a testing issue, like the way the test is formatted maybe, since it's just in general during class, are they doing,
Well,
because you said you see them progressing.
and their scores
So-
each year previous was great, right? Because
Right,
the
so that's why I was
2019
wondering if
fifth.
it's like an anomaly with the way the test is written or
Well,
something.
the
You know what
test
I mean?
changes, it's a
Yeah.
very targeted time, so
Yeah.
as we look at the scores, what we were finding is they were struggling in, say, measurements. Then we hit measurement real hard. Well, then the next year, measurement was hardly tested, and it was all geometry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we just stopped
Okay.
looking at that and started to say, are our kids engaged?
Yeah.
5th grade math is hard.
Yeah.
It's also a time for the 5th grade. A lot of parents struggle to help their kids with it. I mean, it gets very difficult. And like I said, they're trying to teach different ways to do like long division, and it doesn't make sense to everybody. And the whole point of it was to introduce them to multiple ways, but they choose what makes most sense to them. So I think sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle as if they have to know how to do every single way, and that's not the point of the standards. The standards is how does your brain take apart, decompose, and compose numbers. So I think there's a lot there. Our teachers trying to teach it differently. So we're really tackling a lot of those areas, trying to see what it is. The test we can't change. It's the same test everybody takes.
But in the day-to-day of 5th grade, you see them progressing, you see them.
We're trying new things. Like I said, we're
Yeah.
sure hoping. Every
Yeah.
year we go into it thinking, okay, it's gonna be good, and then we're like, what?
Yeah.
So we are trying.
Anything else?
No,
Thank you all very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to add too, I mean, this is great to see. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us, because we're excited to hear this kind of stuff, but to see you guys excited as you are to share it, I think, with us. And seeing Miss Wilson in her class was awesome. Thank you.
We were talking about, while you guys were up there presenting, we talked about maybe sometime in the spring we'll start one of our school board meetings over at the PACE Lab, if you guys would walk us through that, and they could maybe, yeah,
We would love it. We put a lot of work into it, so we'd
Yep.
love to share.
it would be a great setup. Thank you.
Come on over.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, we have consent agenda items.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approves all consent agenda items, including agenda, minutes, personnel items, treasurer's report, and bills as listed, items A through C.
Moved and supported. Any comments? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that passes. And we have administrative reports next.
I'm gonna slide Susan up to the top of that list today. Susan's had a battle of the flu bug going throughout her household, and so it's been a rough week or so, but I think they're on the mend, but I'm gonna have her start today. So
Stay right there.
Yeah. And then as soon as you're done, please exit. Yep, that's right.
I didn't bring any of the equipment,
All right.
so the last one's at home, I think should be okay. Anyways, I don't have a whole lot this month. The kids had a great time with Santa here at the Christmas program. That was a wonderful time. We filled the auditorium again. That was a lot of fun. We've been, since we came back from break, Carol from the MSU Extension has come, and she's been talking with our little ones once a week about nutrition, and they're really getting a kick out of that. She has an activity plan for them, and then she has something for them to try. And so every day that she comes, I go in there and say, well, hey, what did you guys think? And it's usually like, that's gross. It was squash one day, but it was raw, and I'm like, I wouldn't eat raw squash either, but, so they're really enjoying that. And then we have coming up our special persons party, February 11th, where the kids get to invite a family member or friend to a night activity in the school, and they'll do a literacy and a math activity and make a craft as well, and then they get to kind of show off their classroom. So that's kind of all we got going on right now.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Melrose.
All right, a few things here. First of all, our college advisor's got a few things set up here for our kids. For the next month, she's got a set up these prep workshops. They're going to be during the seminar sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She's going to be here in the library. And juniors and seniors can come in here. She's going to work with them on completing their FAFSA, help them complete their scholarships, college and trade applications, help them work through Khan Academy for getting prepped for the SAT. So she's gonna have snacks up in here, but she's gonna be providing that here for the next couple of months here, getting the juniors and seniors ready. Along with that, she has a FAFSA night set for Monday, February 10th, from 5 to 7 here again in the library. St. Clair Tech has an open house on Thursday, February 20th from 5:30 to 8. So again, kids can find out about tech and the career technical middle college program. And one of the last things again is our National Honor Society has really made it their goal this year to raise enough money to put in two of the two water stations here at the high school where they have the refillable bottles, so kind of phase out the plastic water bottles. So they've done some the hot chocolate they did before Christmas. They raised a lot of money for that, but then they just this past weekend had a murder mystery that they hosted, and they raised $2,300 with that toward that. So they're really excited. They've really just kind of taken that on, and that's just really been a big drive for them. They want to just kind of leave their mark at the seniors when they leave by putting those in here. And I know the kids are chomping at the bit to get them because they'll definitely, it's something that'll be used regularly by the students and the staff.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lestage.
All right, since we've been back from break, we've continued all of our coaching cycles. So I told you guys a little bit about the math coaching cycles, but we also have Kathy Tricomo coming in, and she is coaching 7 teachers in writing. And we have Jennifer Evans and April Seeley come in, and she's coaching, gosh, they have a lot that they're also coaching. So when I wrote it all out the other day, I actually only have 3 teachers that are being coached right now in the school, so I'm hoping to fit them in somewhere coming up. But it's really a very nice setup how RISA is doing that now, and I can see a big change versus how they used to do things when they would just kind of come in and do a PD and then we're expected to do it. So it's just been nice for them to monitor and see the growth, and they know what the next step is. So almost every day of the week you can find somebody from RISA in there helping us out. Science Olympiad is underway. The teams were formed last week, and coaches have been assigned, and they're starting to practice every Thursday after school. And this past weekend, we hosted Mother-Son Dodgeball, had over 120 boys with their parents or their moms come in and play. It was fun. Cleanup is always a breeze when the moms are there with all the kids, so that's nice too. Coming up, all of our intervention groups have been reorganized and started today based on our winter testing cycles. So everybody should be getting some new assignments, and we also have the talent show, K6 talent show coming up on February 7th from 5 to 8 in the auditorium.
Very good, thank you. Mrs. Sanders.
Oh, this is midpoint in the year, so as far as curriculum goes, the second marking period just finished. Report cards will be coming out next week, or this week, at the end of this week. The elementary and Ryan, I believe yours are mailed.
No, we give them to the take them home. They'll be early next week.
Early next week. So you can expect those going home to the families. NWEA is just wrapping up, like Brooke said, so we are all reshuffling our interventions groups. It's an exciting time to see kids that have graduated from intervention, and then you look back and go, whoa, this one just got on the radar. So we are definitely mixing those up. We have some K1 teachers going to a reading conference in February coming up. Very excited to see Ralph Fletcher and Stephanie Harvey with some writing ideas. Like Brooke said, we've been really focusing on math and writing, trying to make sure that we are getting that aligned and all doing the same strategies using the common language for the kids. We just had a K-12 half-day PD last Thursday, I apologize, before Records Day, where K-12 all heard the same message from Minna and Laura. And we picked those strategies and really talked about that math engagement, and they had to break down a timeline of their lessons and show when they're using these different strategies. So it was interesting to hear them think through the process of that and where they were. I have also brought, you should have a couple papers like this. This is the kindergarten readiness assessment that we give in the beginning of the year. Those results just came in from the state. You have to give it before the end of October, so you're talking fresh little kindergartners taking this. And it's really to see where they are coming in. The first page is the district versus the ISD, St. Clarissa. The green is us, and the blue is the county. So our kids are coming in demonstrating pretty well, a little bit better, and approaching the standards. We have less coming in emerging. I attribute that to we really do try to do a good job of getting kids in preschool programs in Algonac. So it's nice to say that I have very few kids coming in with nothing. You know, a handful, which is huge compared to some other districts. So we are identifying, we are getting them in, whether it's GSRP Head Start or Point Trumbull. They are attending somewhere, which is really, really helping us out. Definitely still some things we can work at. The next page is the ISD versus the state, so you can see how that breaks down. This was a nice breakdown for us because we can kind of see where we need to go. I can work with our GSRP and work with Susan as well to say, hey, you guys are doing really great here, but let's, you know, some areas of growth could be here and here. So just wanted to share that with you so you saw the results of that for the kindergartens. And at Millside, we've just been busy. It's exciting. Kids are starting to read in kindergarten right now, and first grade's kicking off. So we have a spaghetti dinner at the end of this month that Rotary helps us put on. The kids are wanting to raise money for flexible seating. They like all the fun seating. They call it fun seating, not flexible seating, but they like all that type of different seatings and picking and choosing. So we're looking forward to that as well. That is it.
KRA,
Oh, the spaghetti dinner. It's the last Friday of the month. I believe it's going to be the 28th. Okay. Rotary's doing their day of giving at the end, so we just kind of follow whenever they're making the sauce, we're happy to host it.
just so you know, the KRA that Melissa presented here, that was the first year that this assessment's been given. It's going to be what the state does to test. As you've been watching, they've sunk a lot of money into the pre-K levels, and so part of that comes with they want to start assessing to see if they're getting their bang for their buck there. So something that it's kind of a lengthy process, and Melissa's teachers had to be trained in it and all that kind of stuff, but hopefully we get some results to.
Kindergarten roundup postcards have been ordered and will go out, so we're gonna start collecting information on that. It is April 16th and 17th. The health department will be coming down, and then we'll host an evening one as well the following week. So if you know anybody, send them our way.
Thank you.
Thanks. Board reports?
I have something. I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Steve Belanti at Chartwells. He's really, I think, Chartwells and Steve both doing a fantastic job on feeding our children. I've been helping them for the last little while. Well, let me clarify. I'm not sure I'm helping, but I'm there. And we go to Millside, Algonquin, and the high school, and we pass out free samples of all different types of foods so that they get different foods and tastes and what have you. And we've done smoothies and all kinds of vegetables, and we've done squash at Millside, and that I'm from the old school. I think it should have brown sugar butter on. Steve does not go for that, so I think we had probably 60% maybe didn't like it as much as the 40 who said it was okay. So that was good. And then this past week we did at the high school, we had chili beef steak, chicken sandwiches, and chicken stir fry. And the students got to pick and vote which ones they liked. They got to taste them all and then vote to see which one they wanted to have Steve serve in the future. So the winner was going to be served every Friday for the month of February. Runner-up was going to get Thursday of March for the month of March. And the big winner was the chicken. To me, it tastes like Popeye, so I was happy. But apparently the students like that too. So it's just kind of a neat. Another thing he's done is given different kinds of water, you know, from the vegetables, the cucumbers and all of that in the water, and change it around a little bit. And it's really very well received. So he doesn't get too many accolades, but he really deserves a lot for what he's doing. And I think if you ask your students, they'll probably tell you if they've tried the samples. Sometimes they're a little leery, but high school they're more willing. But I think that it's pretty well received for everybody, so nice shout out to them.
Sounds like high school got better choices.
It's changed since we've been there.
I didn't hear squash or cauliflower or anything like that at the high school level.
Okay, thanks, Sharon. Anything else? All right, Mr. Latos?
Yep, just a couple things for you. Hard to believe we're halfway through the year and all that. I was like, got into school today and realized we're halfway done. It's pretty good. Got a bit of good news right before actually I came down here. Our consolidated application, which we amend usually right around Christmas time, and that's where we get all our Title I money, Title II money, Title IV money from. Melissa and I worked on that over December. Thankfully, and I didn't even get a chance to share this with Melissa, when they sent it back to us, we had one correction, and that was just because I didn't attach one of the spreadsheets that we needed. So I attached that, sent it out this morning, and by the time I got back after about 5 o'clock today, it was approved. And so all that money we're able to spend, Dorothy's able to go in and start working with that, so it's a good thing. And that, you know, that amounts to a total of about $400,000 a year between those three pots, so that's some pretty significant money. And just goes to show you do it enough years, you figure it out. And really, Melissa did most of the work on the original part of it, and she's been in contact with the private schools because they get a tiny chunk of that money as well. So we took care of all that, but we're done with that for another year, so that's a good thing. I do appreciate the opportunity to go to the superintendent's conference that I was at on Wednesday, Thursday last week. You know, sometimes they have good speakers, sometimes they have bad speakers, but the one thing that I've been drawn away from those, and every time I go to them, is how nice it is really to come back here and our board and our staff, you know, the two things. Because as I talk to other superintendents, you know, there's 250, 300 superintendents at the one in the winter, and you hear a lot of the horror stories, so to speak, in some cases about, you know, it's rough when you have a board that's not on the same page, or you have staff that's fighting on everything. And I think about some of our recent contract negotiations, and we went through every bit as tough stuff as anybody, but persevered, and we're in a better spot now. And just the support that the board gives the staff and gives the district, and it truly is. I wouldn't just tell you that it's very, like, you walk out of there thinking you're in the right place, and it's good to hear. And so
I think we get similar vibes when we go to MASB
Yeah.
classes.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Even when we're going
could
through
be
the
worse.
horrible part,
Right.
it was like, oh, wow, we're not as bad as I thought we were.
Yeah. It does make you feel good. You walk out of there going, man, things could be a heck of a lot worse, that's for sure. So no, it was good, and we it kind of recharges the battery, and you pick up quite a bit of ideas there. So that was nice to go to. And then just last, we had a pre-bid meeting last week, or bid meeting for the boiler that we talked about. Remember, at the middle school, that's going to be kind of our, what we've been told, that's the best one that we have in mind for a fix, you know, or to assist the geothermal. And the idea is putting the boiler, attaching it to the loop, geothermal loop, keeping the loop at the right temperature, which in essence should keep the building at a warmer temperature. So pre-bid meeting was, or I should say the bid meeting was last week, and bids are due by the end of this month. And whatever we get, we'll go through, pick the one that makes the most sense, and then that will come to you guys as an action item next month. So as soon as I get that final number or the final bids, I'll send them along to you like always, and then just to let you know where we're gonna be and what my, or our suggestion would be as to what group we go with. Chip was down helping Evan with the meeting last week, so.
What's the plan for the cooling? Do we have one?
Well, knock on wood, the cooling's not as bad. It's usually, now, we would probably run into a little more trouble if we were year-round. We'd probably have to really look at that. Fortunately, when we're in the dog days of summer, generally, we don't have people crammed into the building. But if we ever made that transition to year-round, we'd probably have to take a look at how we're gonna address a little bit more of that too. So this will be the first step. If things go the way that we think they will with this boiler at the middle school, we'll do the same thing over here at the high school. High schools is a little more complicated because of the setup of where the boiler would have to go as opposed to where the geothermal loop is to get to, but it's doable. It's just gonna take, it'd be a lot more work and a lot more architectural work, but, and probably a little more costly, so. This is gonna be our first attempt at getting this thing up and running the way we think it should be, and everything we've been told, and we've heard it from a lot of people, it seems to be the most logical, I guess. Now, my geothermal knowledge is very limited, I'll be the first to admit that, but what they're telling us seems like it makes sense, and Evan's done a heck of a lot more research on it than I have, and he hasn't heard a better plan, have you, Evan? Makes sense to him, so we'll keep an eye on it, and hopefully it does what we figure. There's nothing it can do that's gonna be wrong. It's gonna make the loop warmer, which means it's gonna have a benefit, so.
And that's out to bid now?
Yep, out to bid, and bids close up at the end of the month. It's been out for a while, right?
Yeah, it's been out for about 2 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks. so.
It's just gotta work. If it doesn't work,
It'll
oh
work.
my God.
It'll work. It'll work.
I'm not answering my phone, I'm
No.
not getting on Facebook,
No.
I'm just disconnecting myself from everything.
Well, and yeah, it's a small cost if it works. So we'll say that.
Good.
But I'll keep you posted on how that goes, and like I said, I'll send you along the bid information as we get it into. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Any visitors and requests?
None.
All right, none. Action items. For the first item on the list, background, if you guys recall, we did Al's review back in December in closed session, so we're just gonna basically approve it in public here going forward. From a high level, professional practice was a 3.6 or 91%. Student growth was at a 3 out of 4, and progress towards district-wide goals was at a 4 out of 4. And given the weights, came out to 85%. Right? So with that, anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, the Board of Education approves the superintendent evaluation data December 17th, 2019.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any other conversation? Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Good job.
Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And then last but not least, revenue sharing payment. Again, some quick background. We approved a revenue sharing payment for all the staff at the close of last year. We left the superintendent out for it, so that way it could be kind of more in public, tied to review and everything. So with that, I'd like to suggest a motion that the Board of Education approves a revenue sharing payment in the amount of $1,000 to the superintendent of the schools. This payment is in alignment with the Algonac Community Schools staff revenue sharing payment.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any other conversation?
Well
The heating
deserved.
doesn't work. Next year. You're not getting it.
Yep. All right, again, nice job.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any approved? All right, that passes. And then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this will passes.